Hey guys, it's Welps, and welcome to my bow staff build guide. I'm gonna try to cover everything about this build to get you ready for global launch, from gears and skills, rotation, and everything. But if I miss out something, you can always ask me in the comments or come to my stream and ask as well. Bow staff is a long-range glass cannon DPS build. It's considered top tier in large-scale PvPs and PvE, the dungeons. You are gonna be pretty weak in small scale PvPs because you have no defensive. That's what glass cannon is all about. But it is still playable, you just kinda have to kill them before they get to you. Alright, let's start with the gear. I'm gonna be using my build page in Questlog. I'm gonna have this link in the description below. Make sure you save it because I'm gonna keep updating this page for global. So I basically have the early game green gear, mid game blue gear, your late game pre-bis epic gear, and your full bis epic gear. Okay, so let's start with the green gear. This is gonna be your leveling gear as you get to 50. Leveling in Throne is really easy. It's all about just questing, following the quest, talking to NPC. And it takes about roughly 8 hours average to get to 50. And you're gonna be replacing all these gears really soon after hitting 50. So you could pretty much level with any green gear, but I still min-maxed for you. My choice of gear is simply the pieces with highest stat, like wisdom. And when a piece doesn't have any stats, you want things like crit to increase your damage. So here we have 2 wisdom. Mana regen is also really important. Dex and crit, wisdom, dex. Accessories don't have much stats, so you go with like health. Mana regen, mana, it's really not important, whatever. The reason that we go with the stats is because stat equals damage. You get all this gear by crafting, and crafting is really easy. You learn how to do it by just doing a quest in early game. And you don't want to be saving any growth stones. You want to be upgrading your items as you get your growth stones. And to use them more efficiently, you want to first funnel your weapon stones into one weapon. I recommend leveling your staff first. But with the armor stones, you want to get every piece to level 4 first. Because that's your breakpoint of where your armor gains additional stat. So with this glove, at 0 is 1 dex. You get 4, now you get 2 dex. You got 6, it's still 2 dex. So instead of pushing from 4 to 6, it's better to work on other piece to get to 4 and get additional stat. Once you've done that, you make everything 6. It'll increase the armor and then increase like substats like mana regen. Accessories don't have any stats, so it's really whatever. And as you level, you want to put your stat points into dex first and then wisdom. After you put 20 points into a stat, making it 30 base stat, because you start at 10 base stat, now it requires you to spend 2 points per stat. Like so. So you start putting points into dex at this point and spend it on wisdom. And same thing, after 20 points, you just put it into strength. Okay, so once you hit level 50, if you are a PvP player, you go straight into working on your PvP gear. Or if you just want to focus on PvE, or maybe this is like your alt, you work on the PvE gear. And as you are working on these epic gears, the missing slots you'll be filling in with the blue gears. So I've made a blue PvE gear and a blue PvP gear. And whenever you get your blue upgrade, you transfer your green into blue and then start upgrading your blue to 9. And once it's at 9, you want to transfer your blue into purple whenever you get your purple. Now for the PvP weapon, I've put the double key strafing bow, but it really comes down to your preference. Double key strafing bow gives you long range and high attack speed, with its weapon passive giving you extra burst damage to low HP targets. So when you have longer range, it's just more convenient to play. But you can still use Carnix. With Carnix, you will have 45 more max damage, which is pretty big deal. And you lose a bit of range, but not much because the passive is increasing range by 9%. And good thing about Carnix is that it also gives you more crit, and you can also use it for PvE. It's the best bow for PvE before Arc Boss. And for your staff, Talus is gonna be your best weapon, but it drops from a world boss Talus, so it's gonna be quite hard to get and expensive. So until then, you're gonna be using Double Key. This staff used to be the best, but in global version, that range passive is changing to cooldown reduction, so it loses value. Talus is gonna be really good because it's got high damage, it's got dex and crit, really good stats, and also the passive is gonna save you from a GS engage, your hard counter. Once they engage on you, you're pretty much dead with the stun lock, but it's gonna save you every 60 seconds. The cooldown is gonna get increased to 60 seconds in global. So yeah, and to find out where to get these items, you can just click on it and then press view in database. It'll open up a new window and it'll show you where you get it from. The stats you prioritize is Perception, because Perception increases hit, and at 60 points, it gives you additional 120 hit. Hit is really, really important in PvP. Pretty much every build is going to be stacking evasion, so you need hit to counter that. And then you put some points into strength, making it 30 for the extra HP, and you put everything into dex. This is my PvE early game setup after 50. I labeled it as an early game because all of these you are able to get it through dungeons and like weekly quest, non-world boss items, except for skulls. But that's because this is the only item and also the Tycoon that has the stats on belt, and they are both from world boss. So until you get one of these belts, you can put whatever belt. For your PvE stats, same as leveling, at start you keep prioritizing dex and wisdom, and you put the remaining points into strength until you get enough points to make your strength 50 and dex 60. At 50 strength, it gives you extra 100 heavy attack chance. Heavy attack is really important for this class, or this build. Also, all your damage is burst damage, and heavy attack is double damage of whatever damage you do. And then 60 dex because it gives you extra 120 critical hit. And dex is also the best stat for DPS. It increases attack speed, crit, maximum damage. And after 30 base stat, you're gonna put everything into wisdom. And for PvE, the only traits you need are those that contribute to your DPS. So skill damage boost on your rings and necklace, and attack speed on your glove. For PvP traits, for weapons, you're gonna work on your hit and heavy attack first. And on your armors, you're gonna be working on your magic and range evasion. Now, you can't just put magic and range evasion on every item. For example, this is leather. Leather will have magic and range evasion. Cloth will have melee and magic evasion. Plate will have melee and ranged evasion. So this is the only cloth piece. Everything else is leather. So you work on magic and range evasion. For your accessories, obviously the skill damage boost is priority. And for your bracer and belt, you want to work on your skill damage resistance and max health as next priority. And then your third will be like buff duration and debuff duration. So now the real question is, do I trade my blue first or epic? That really comes down to how long you think it'll take for a piece to be fully traded. For example, Reaper's Pants, this is a world boss drop item, and this boss doesn't even have a ripstone. It's gonna be your hardest piece to get. It's gonna be really expensive. So in cases like this, you'll be using a blue pants. Same for the Transcendent Ring, Tycoon Bloodlust. These are world boss drops, same as Talus. Rest of the item is farmable. They are from either co-op dungeons or open world dungeons, the weekly dungeon quest pouch. So they're gonna be fairly cheap. So it's really up to you whether you're gonna be able to afford to fully trade, not everything, but fully trade important traits like skill damage boost and health, evasions on armor. The buff duration, debuff duration, they can come later. And this setup will be more of a realistic early mid-game setup. And as I mentioned earlier in the beginning, bow staff is really weak in small scale PvP because you have no defensives. But bow and dagger and staff and dagger, they are really good in small scale. and it pretty much uses the same setup. So for your third weapon, after you've upgraded both bow and staff, you wanna be leveling a dagger, and you are instantly viable. You don't have to change any gear. And it doesn't really have to be +9 fully threaded dagger. You can have any dagger and just start playing bow dagger or staff dagger. Alright, next, moving on to skills. You wanna go into the skills tab and double click on my bow staff skill priority and click on skill upgrade priority. I could only use the skills that are on these hotbars, so I've placed the like the important offensive skills in there. So just follow these. Same for the passive, and the ones that are not in there is pretty much low priority. You can take it slow. And for the skills that require omnipotence books, these four, you want to prioritize the flash arrow first, and then blitz, and then meteor. And just to be more efficient with your skill books, when you get all your skills to epic, you don't want to push all the way to level 5. You want to make every skill level 3 first. Because at level 3, the percentage damage goes up. So if you look at this fireball, it's 160, 160, and at level 3 is 165. And then it goes up again at level 5. And with the amount of skill books you require to upgrade from 3 to 5, you can level like 2 other skills from 1 to 3. So once you get these skills into epic, you make them into level 3, and then you push 5 one by one. For the bow masteries, you wanna work on your bottom line, and once you get the last node, you should be at level 10. And that's when you pretty much get the full potential of the bow. And then you slowly work on the top row to get the skill damage resist 80. This is good for both PvP and PvE. Staff mastery is a bit different. You take the middle row, you get the skill damage boost 40. And then you go down, get the 10% burn damage. And then you go back to the middle, take the 5% CDR. You should be at 13 here, and then 14, 15, and at 16, you unlearn these 3 and get the last node on the bottom line. This gives you 5% magic damage. Alright, so I'm gonna show you the boss DPS rotation. But first, you wanna be positioned within 15 meters of your tank. So you wanna click on your tank, and below the nameplate, it's gonna have rage. So make sure you're within 15 meters to receive the blow diversion buff from a GS. This is when your tank is SNS GS. Alright, so our opener is gonna be high focus. This is gonna increase the CDR, and you're gonna have 45 max damage from a trait. Then you go into deadly marker. And then you go into meteor. We use the Hellfire Rain on bosses because bosses have bigger hitbox. So you're more likely to hit like almost all meteors, like 12 meteors. And that's a massive damage. Also, you put more burn stacks to set up for other skills. Each burn stack is gonna be 10 heavy attack from passive flame condensation. So we can have up to 10 burn stacks, and there's gonna be 100 heavy attack. So after meteor, you go into full charge focus fire bombs, and that's gonna apply 5 burn stacks. So after that, you're guaranteed to have 10 burn stacks on a boss, and the focus fire bomb itself is gonna have chance to higher chance to heavy attack because you already applied burn with the meteor. Next, you go fireball barrage. It shoots more projectile depending on the burn stacks. So we've already set that up. So you're gonna be shooting 20 projectiles doing maximum damage. Then you go into chain thunder. Also, chain thunder increases damage based on burn stacks. So we've already set that up. Same judgment lightning. Higher the burn stack, higher the chance you proc the second cast. And then into inferno. This one also requires burn stacks. You're doing maximum damage with all these abilities. Then you go strafing into Zephyr Snog. You always want to try to pair strafe into Zephyr, because the strafing is gonna apply target stack as well as the gale stack. So after 3 casts of strafing, target will have 10 target stacks and 2 gale stacks, and each target stack is 5% damage. So that's 50%, and 2 gale stacks is 25% per stack, so that's 50%. So you're doing 100% more damage. But if everything else is on cooldown and you only have Zephyr up, just use it. So that's your opener rotation. From then on, it's whatever comes off cooldown. But your priority will be when you have multiple cooldowns available, this always comes first, and then Meteor, and then Judgment Lightning. And of course, you want to use buff on cooldown every time, and Deadly Marker every cooldown. Also, if your healer happen to be a bow wand and you're like the only staff in the group, you wanna take this off, and you wanna take the AoE. You wanna buff your party with this. So this is what the rotation would look like. And when you're out of mana, you pop Nature's Blessing into Inner Peace. That will get you to full mana in like 2 seconds. And you just move to cancel, back to rotation. For PvP, there's no real rotation. Just on engage, you wanna pop your Victorious Energy for hit and evasion buff. And you do full charge Flash Wave, use Blitz to reset, and do another Flash Wave. And then Tornado. Tornado is going to be situational. You're going to be using Tornado first or between your Flash Wave or last. It doesn't matter. It's always situational. And then your job is pretty much done. So from then on, it's you doing your best to survive and killing targets. And for which weapons to hold in your hand, for PvP, you want to hold bow to have high uptime on that skill damage resistance. But it's not going to matter until you're level 16. And for PvE, also, it doesn't matter. You probably want to hold your staff because you're going to be leveling your staff first. And also, you're going to have more manable procs. So that's going to slightly increase your DPS. But you barely auto-tag in boss fights. So yeah, it's really not much. Ultimately, like, it doesn't really matter what you hold. I will explain briefly on how mastery works and why it's not important to hold whatever weapon you have. When you are using a skill, you use a weapon of that skill. So when I'm holding staff and using bow skills, my character is holding a bow. So for those bow skills, it applies my bow masteries because I was holding a bow. So basically, all the bow masteries work on bow skills, and all the staff masteries work on staff skills. Your bow masteries does not work on your staff skills, and your staff masteries does not work on your bow skills. This is my attack settings. I have everything off, but for PvE, it's best to have this on. What this does is that when you have target selected and you use like AoE skill like Meteor, it'll always be centered. Even if you move your mouse, it'll be centered if you have the target selected. So you're gonna hit most of your meteors. Turning off easy charge skill is also really good. You don't have to hold down a button to charge a skill. You just have to press once and it'll fire automatically when it's fully charged. Also, you can press once again to fire early. Prevent falling. You want to have this on whenever you're in PvP and you're taking that high ground, like going on like a tree branch to shoot down a target, so you don't fall off the tree branch. And when you have the prevent falling on, make sure you have all the auto move to attack target off, so your character doesn't walk towards the target and fall off. In camera settings, I make my character on-screen location Y-3. This really helps with the vision, so you are able to see up ahead better. You get better like bird's eye view. Also, one of the hardest things to do in Throne, especially as a bow staff, is when you want to target a ranged DPS that's on high ground. And this also just makes it easier to look up. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you have any more questions, just leave a comment or just pop into my stream. I stream both on Twitch and YouTube. So I'll see you guys there. Peace.